Okay, Alexander, we have election results to report in Chile. And I don't think this was a surprise for us because we've been saying that Latin America is definitely lurching left in a big, big way. And, I don't think it's a stretch to say perhaps the most, for lack of a better word, let's say the most conservative country in Latin America, Chile, or at least it has a reputation of being less left-leaning than other countries in Latin America. Well, they have elected a person of the left. And Gabriel Boric has defeated Juan Antonio Cast in presidential elections. And it was a sizable defeat. It was a good-sized defeat. It wasn't too close. And he is ready. He's very young, by the way, 35 years old, I believe. And he's ready to start implementing a very aggressive program of the left, I guess is the best way to put it. What do you think of these results?
Well, I mean, this is, as you absolutely rightly say, this is a trend across Latin America. I mean, we started with elections in Argentina. And we've seen elections in Bolivia. We've seen elections probably coming in Brazil. That's the big one. And we'll see what happens there. But in more and more places now, we're starting to see left-wing candidates win. And we see Latin America swing further to the left. Now, I have to say that the history of government by left-wing leaders in Latin America isn't promising. Now, in Chile, there is a massive and very complex and very difficult political legacy because the previous important left-wing government, that of Salvador Allende, was overthrown in a coup, a violent military coup in 1973. There was a great deal of repression that has left a very bitter partisan divide in Chile. But Chile is, by Latin American standards, one of the more developed countries in Latin America. It's the sort of place where if you go to Chile, what I've heard is, things actually work quite well there. You pick up the telephone and you can order something and it will come, and you can do business deals and you can do those sort of things. It's always been one of the more efficient Latin American countries. It's, I think, widely accepted that there are many criticisms of the economic policies that were followed during the period of the dictatorship and after. They did lead to a stabilization of the economic situation in Chile. Now, that has come, however, at a price of inequalities and of other problems, and there's always been this underlying resentment on the part of many people in Chile at the way in which this was done and at the very savage austerity that was forced on them. So there was a big reaction. But I also get the sense that what happened in Chile itself was that up to the moment of this election, there was some uncertainty, some hesitancy about taking the plunge. But what I think finally swung the election is that Mr. Cast has come across as someone who is too sympathetic and too nostalgic for the previous military government. And I think this lost him support at a crucial moment. Now we're going to have a left-wing government. It wants to undo a lot of what was done by the military dictatorship, by governments that followed that. It wants to pursue a much more radical social and economic program. It can very easily go wrong in Latin America. It often does. It's been going wrong again in Argentina recently. We'll see where this goes. If there is rising inflation, a severe crisis in Chile, I think we could see things turn in Chile very quickly. And of course, the other thing that's different is that this time I get the sense that there's an awful lot of other ideas circulating within this left-wing group, this left-wing bloc which has taken power, of the usual identity and green issues, which, to be straightforward about it, are not traditional amongst the Latin American left, but have more to do with that of, say, California and the west coast of the United States. So it looks to me as if you're going to have a heady cocktail of very left-wing economics, Latin American-style economics, combined with California-style policies on social questions. And we'll see how this essentially conservative or traditionally conservative Catholic society in Chile, how it responds to that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing that you said about the identity politics part. He is ready to implement a very woke agenda, to put it, to sum it all up. It is going to be very much along the lines of the United States and California, and that's going to be perhaps the social plank of his administration. But the economic part, Boric is saying that he is going to expand social programs. He's going to nationalize the pension system. He's going to raise government revenue via taxing. He's going to tax the mining companies that operate in the country and other businesses, big taxes on those. Is this the wrong time to do this, though, when you look at the world economic outlook and the way inflation is just going crazy everywhere, the amount of money printing that's taking place in just about every country, from South America to North America to Europe? I mean, is this the right time to be doing this when it looks like the whole world is heading towards a big crash, and he's ready to implement this very aggressive left-wing policy?
It's a very dangerous time to do it because, of course, you have a situation of worldwide inflation, and the even greater danger is, of course, when he talks about raising taxes. And, let's be clear. I mean, there are lots of imbalances within the Chilean economy and society. Perhaps some people should be paying more taxes. But when he talks about doing that, what tends to happen in Latin America is that left-wing governments come in, they say they're going to increase social spending, they're going to carry out these nationalizations, they're going to do all these sort of reforms. At the same time, they to some extent acknowledge the need for some degree of fiscal discipline. But in practice, that part of the equation falls away. And what you actually get is the spending, but not the fiscal discipline and perhaps the tax raising that you need to do in order to balance that. And to the extent that you do increase taxes, you do it in a punitive way. And this being Latin America, what tends to happen is that, of course, the business community stops paying taxes. They find all kinds of ways to find ways round paying taxes, and the whole fiscal situation starts to become increasingly unbalanced, and starts to implode. And of course, if you start burdening your productive side of the economy with all those other things, well, that can also create problems. So you have massive extra spending, probably a collapse of financial discipline, and of course, historically, that leads in Latin America to much higher inflation and fiscal imbalances and financial problems. And of course, all that's happening at a time when the international situation, what you see is rising inflation everywhere. So I have to say, I think that doing all of this in a hurry, which is the other thing that Latin American governments always try to do, they try and carry out all of these changes all at once, very fast. Doing all of this in a hurry, it seems to me, is a recipe at this moment in time for real problems. I mean, I hope they pull it off. I'm frankly very skeptical because in Latin America, I've seen this story before, and I can't help but think that this is just going to be another repeat of that story I've already seen. I'm going to add something else. We're talking about, social and identity and green issues that are more typical of California than Latin America being imported into Chile and Latin America generally. One of the great paradoxes is that, of course, as the Latin Americans are importing from North America all those ideas, they seem to be exporting their economic model, high spending, low interest rates, tax raising in all kinds of strange ways. They seem to be exporting all of that to North America and specifically to the United States. So you see the United States now increasingly adopting Latin American ideas in its economic policies, even as Latin America adopts North American, US social ideas in its social policies. And, I wonder where all this is going to end. Not well, I expect.
How do you think the U.S. sees this? Take the part of taxing, okay, the U.S. government on the what? Okay, my question is, how do you think the U.S. government sees this? How do you think the business world is going to see this policy? Because once again, you're going to be taxing those companies operating in Chile. Perhaps the neoliberal establishment in Washington may not be too kind to this policy. I know in the U.S., the squad, they love to talk this stuff up, but this is neoliberalism is not going to be too fond of this government's approach.
No, they're not. And there's another factor, which is, of course, the geopolitical one, because one senses that this particular new government that's emerged, this left-wing government, they're probably going to be more sympathetic to China, to relations with China, to the BRICS states, and of which, of course, Brazil is one. And if Lula da Silva is re-elected president of Brazil next year, you could see Brazil, forming a bloc with Chile and those other Latin American states again. And I suspect that the US will not be pleased. Bear in mind, Chile is an absolutely key supplier to the United States, to the Western economies of important products like lithium, for example. So, if they start edging towards China, that the US is not going to be happy about that. So what I suspect you're going to see, actually, is you're going to see divisions in the United States. You're going to have the Democrats, or at least the squad and people like that. They're going to be enthused by the fact that they've got a left-wing government in Chile, which is doing all the things that they like. And don't underestimate this. These people are very articulate. They have very great power now within the Democratic Party, more than they've ever had at any time in the Democratic Party's history. There's probably some people in Congress, beyond the squad, who share these views. They have a lot of the activists in the Democratic Party on side. So they will be overwhelmed. They'll be delighted by these changes in Chile. But the business community, both in Chile and the United States, are not going to be happy about these unorthodox plans and projects. In Chile, definitely they won't be. In the United States, I suspect they won't be either, especially, as I said, if these plans start to interfere with imports of lithium and other products that the United States is going to buy from Chile. And, of course, the interagency, the deep state, if you prefer, the national security state in the United States, if they sense that Chile, under this new government, is going to be moving closer to China, closer to the BRICS states, starting to forge economic links with China, especially perhaps if it falls into difficulties, if it starts to see inflation running out of control, if it looks to China to as an economic partner and perhaps as a geostrategic partner, well, it won't be happy about that at all. And then you're going to see greater tensions between the United States and the new Chilean government. And, well, one can never be quite sure where those would lead. Difficult to imagine another coup in Chile any longer, but perhaps a political crisis in Chile, perhaps the United States taking a more active role in trying to, as that particular crisis plays out, perhaps the United States supporting political forces in Chile, and perhaps that creating more aggravation in Chile, especially because of the history of that country. So a tense situation with the United States, potentially a difficult economic situation within Chile itself, an interesting situation, a complicated one. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah. All of Latin America is moving left, and
Absolutely.
I mean, Bolsonaro seems like he's the last one standing, and it looks like he's set to. It looks like
he's set to fall. But I mean, I would say there are two countries. I mean, Colombia remains rock solid in its alliance with the United States. So I mean that is, you know, a country which is very reliable and very close to the United States. And of course, Ecuador, to many people's surprise, they had elections, and instead of it swinging to the left, as most people expected, it ended up with a president from the right. So, you know, it's not all one way, and I understand that in Argentina too, the left-wing government there is facing many problems. So it's not all one way, but certainly overall, the major direction of travel in Latin America is to the left. And of course, the big one next year is Brazil.
Brazil. That's the big one. All right. We'll leave it there. The Duran.locals.com, everybody. And go look for us on ODYSEE, BitChute, Super U, and Rumble as well. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. 10% off all merchandise. Just use that code GOODDAY. Do you have a Good Day mug? Right,
absolutely. Of course I do. Here we are. I'm always with my Good Day mug, and you can see what an elegant and beautiful mug this is. Beautifully designed. And by the way, amazingly made. Like all our magic mugs, it's beautiful. In fact, I don't just have one, I've actually got two, so that I can have one with me all the time.
All right. Great. Take care, everybody.